Hytale.
Hytale.
Hightail!
I had a really hard time deciding what to say in this video. A lot of the news for Hytale has basically died down, and I kinda wanted to make something out of it. This type of video falls under a very specific group of people who still care about the current Hytale acquisition, and I kinda wanna just make this video for myself and for the people who still believe in this game as just an update on what's been going on from the sidelines. For those of you who don't already know, Hytale, a sandbox RPG adventure game, had been announced on December of 2018 through a beautiful cinematic trailer that absolutely blew up, reaching well over 100 million views. Developed by Hypixel Studios, a game development company that is affiliated with the makers of Hypixel, the biggest Minecraft server in the world, there was no stopping the endless hype that the game's announcement had created. At the time of the trailer's release, I never understood how much this meant to some people, but it was clear that there was a lot of things riding on this game. The immense pressure from players who wanted to feel something new, and from the smaller content creators who wanted to make their mark. I even went back to look at an old email containing what had seemed to be a confirmation for beta testing, as I'd believed this game would be the next big thing. This was almost 6 years ago. Over the years, the Hytale team had released a few development updates here and there. We got sneak peeks and forum posts telling us about all the things we should be expecting, and yet something kind of felt off. The updates became more infrequent as time went on. Months, even years went by, and nothing but just a few small messages. Things got really quiet. Some of us thought it was a good sign. Kinda like a surprise party, a sign that we were coming to a finish, just waiting for the big reveal. But as we know, that reveal never came. Tension had dropped, and the hype from the game was diminishing. When it seemed like we were all at a standstill, a message that basically none of us had expected had appeared. On June 23rd, 2025, nearly 5 years after the game's announcement, Noxy, the CEO of Hypixel Studios, announced that the development studio was being shut down, along with the development for Hytale. For most people, it was kind of a bummer, not being able to play a fun game that they'd been looking forward to for years. But for some, it was as if the hope that they had been clinging to was suddenly gone. I can see it's a little dramatic, but honestly, this is kind of how I felt reading the announcement. As a small-time creator, it's kind of hard to compete with the Goliaths of certain gaming niches. This new game was meant to be a second chance. It was kind of like a new community with a brand new start. And it was like a chance to win a medal that no one had earned yet. And so, faced with reality, I kind of just let it sink in. There wasn't much else to do besides just continuing on and looking for something else. Life always goes on whether you like it or not. And yet, to everyone's surprise, not even a week later, hearing the cries of the community, Simon, the owner of the Hypixel network, announced that he would put his best foot forward to try and save the game. He would attempt to acquire the intellectual property of Hytale from Riot Games, the active owner of Hytale, and to salvage what was left from the dying Hypixel Studios. On June 29th, just 6 days after Noxy's tweet, Simon tweeted, "No risk, no story." Now, just for a little context, if you're wondering why Riot Games has anything to do with Hytale, long story short, Simon, a co-founder of Hypixel Studios, had sold Hytale and the studio to Riot Games in hopes that the gaming megacorporation would do more than what his team of developers could ever dream of. With a much larger budget, team, and reach, it kind of just seemed like the right thing to do for a game with such a large vision. He didn't want to let anybody down. But this large vision would also be the downfall of Hytale. Expectations were high. Like, really high. The team at Riot wanted to deliver. They went as far as to even recreate the engine that the game was running on. For those not familiar with what an engine is, to simplify it, it's essentially the code that goes into rendering the graphics, the physics, and just loading the game. It's a big part of the development. This was all in an attempt to get the game cross-platform and just overall make it faster and prettier. At the time, it didn't seem like it'd be such a bad move, but this effort was a massive burden on the team, and eventually the development took so much money and so much time that Riot believed it wasn't worth it to sustain an essentially never-ending project. This dream of a perfect game was one of the biggest reasons on why it didn't work out. There's definitely a lot more that went into it, but this is kind of the extent to which I've seen and read on Twitter. We can fast forward to now. Simon's putting his best foot forward to revive something that means a lot to his community. He's made it abundantly clear that financially, he is very well off, and he doesn't need to do any of this. But despite all of that, he's willing to make a sacrifice for the community that's been beside him and embark on this new journey. He's frequently responded to his community on Twitter, revealing as much as he can without giving too concrete of answers before anything has been decided. You can tell he's very supportive of the community, but he's also very careful of what he can say. You can even look at his Twitter right now, and you can see him addressing questions about the community's concerns for features in the game, examples including modding, camera settings, and even free-to-play versus pay-to-win. It's very clear that Simon has a very bright vision for Hytale and wants to get the community input to make it even better. I think I speak for myself, and for all the people whose sparks were reignited, we're all looking forward to the new development of Hytale. Although life goes on, and I can't check up on every little thing that happens every single day, I can assure you that it's always in the back of my head, and I cannot be more excited. And if, for when Hytale does release, although you may not see much activity from me until then, just know that I'm right with you, looking for an update to Hytale's second hope.